And many of you might choose a vacation site based on where you can get out and stretch your legs or run a little bit and log in a few miles while you're out on vacation. And you're probably going to want to hear some of those best spots in Corinth from our guest who's joining us today on Good Things. If you take your browser over to supertalktv.com, you'll see I'm not alone. I got Miss Jennifer Russell Jefcoat. She's an avid endurance runner in Corinth, Mississippi. Hey, Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Rebecca.
I love all the medals that are hanging behind you there in your office in Corinth. How many total do you know have you completed?
Yeah, I don't actually know. Probably, I don't know, 20. I don't know. I stopped counting, to be honest with you. And then
I don't blame you. Just looking at all of the bling.
Some of them you get a belt buckle if you do like a 50 mile or a 100 mile or so. But I do like the bling, I'll be honest with you. I do like earning medals.
The medals and the T-shirts are two things that will get runners up when it's really cold or very hot outside to complete a race. But I love your story, Jennifer. One, because you're racing for a special purpose, but two, because you started later in life. And I know many wouldn't find late 30s or mid 40s as being, late in life. I know that's still midlife for many. But still, most feel like if you haven't picked a sport by the time you're in your teens or early 20s, then you've missed the boat. So share with us how you got started running races.
Sure. Well, first of all, I was never an athlete in school at all. I tried, softball or tennis, and I was horrible at everything I tried. And so when I moved to Corinth, there is a huge running community here. And I was just always intrigued at seeing them run up and down the street. And I noticed that some were faster than others. And I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. And of course, we have our Coke 10K here, which is the largest 10K race in the state of Mississippi. And so I just decided that I would give it a go and try. And so I was not yet 40, but I started just running. And I always tell people it's just putting one foot in front of the other and just starting a half a mile or whatever it takes for you to feel comfortable and in your body and to have fun. That's really the main thing. And so I did that, and I started with just 1 mile and then 3. And then I finished the 10K, which is 6 miles. And I got that runner's high that day. And I thought, ooh, I kind of like the way this feels. And I thought, well, what's next? And then that's how I got started in running, is just literally. And I can remember thinking, I will never make it through this race. This is 6.1 miles. I'm going to die. And but I did, and I enjoyed it. And here I am.
Here you are today, which having finished, I'm sure, multiple 10Ks along the way, but your next up was a half marathon. And then your next, I think you went to full, which most runners, myself included, when you go through sort of, the process of checking things off of your list, you start with a 5K, 10K, half marathon. You get to that marathon mark, if you ever get to there, because many of us do the half marathon, Jennifer, and say, I'm never turning around and going back.
Yes.
I mean, I made it to the finish line. But you didn't even stop there. So as you were progressing after each sort of milestone, next would be the half marathon, then the marathon, where did you know you just had a little bit more in you?
Yeah, that's exactly when it happened and how it all started when I started doing ultras. So my first half marathon was at St. Jude. And I thought, oh my goodness, I've done 6.1 and here I jumped to 13.1. And I was watching the full marathoners, the 26.2 miles people, and I thought, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I want to know if I can do that. And so I just started training. And then the next year I did the full marathon at St. Jude. And I always encourage people to run St. Jude in Memphis. It is an amazing race. And they have cheerleaders like no other race. And so I finished 26.2 and still had energy in my tank. And I thought, I haven't found my limit yet. And that's what it got me in trouble was what is my limit? And that's why I told my husband, I'm like, I want to find my limit. And that's what took me on my ultra running journey. And so at that point, I just started training for 50K, which is 31 miles. And so I did a 50K and still did not feel satisfied. And so I did a 50 miler. And I thought, this is really cool. And then I went on to do a 100K, which is 61 miles. Still thought, okay, I still need a challenge. And so I ran 100 miles in 2019 in Tunnel Hill. And my biggest question that I get is like all at once. And I said, yes, it took me 28 hours to complete 100 miles. I did not stop except for just to grab a burger at mile like 20, I don't even remember. And then I ate a pancake at mile 71, but I found my limit. I could, if you would have asked me at mile 100, why don't you go one more mile? I would have said, nope, I can't do it. I found my limit. My limit is 100 miles, and I promised my husband that I would never do that again. It wrecked my body. It took me a long time to recover, but it was an amazing journey training for it and running alongside my friends that were helping me along the journey. And so I completed 100 miles, and that is my
Girlfriend,
and
you deserved more than a hamburger and a pancake for running 100 miles while
and
running
the thing
it.
is, it was funny because they give you a belt buckle when you run an ultra, and I was like, a belt buckle? Like, I am never gonna wear this thing. And I got a jacket to wear, and so that was kind of cool. But I always just wanted to do more and to run more, and I found my limit. And so now, because I found my distance limit, I'm now working on my speed. And so that's where I am now, is I'm wanting to become a faster runner.
Where did you run the 100 miler? Because I know there's actually one in Mississippi. I think it's in central Mississippi. It's the Big Butts. I think that's, or is it? I may have the name right. I may have the
No,
name
I think you're
wrong.
right. I think you're right. Could you imagine wearing that T-shirt though?
Yes, and it's also, I think, like in the dead of the Mississippi heat, and the exact name is it's escaping me, but I'm sure we can find that out, or the text line will let us know. But so where did you go to run your 100 miles, Jennifer?
Yes, so I went to Vienna, Illinois, and ran the Tunnel Hill. It's a Durban race that I cannot remember his first name, but Durban is the race director. He put on an amazing race. We started, I think, like at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I ran through all that day, through the night. And the hardest part about that race was day when the sun was coming back up, because my body was like, okay, it's time to go to sleep. And I didn't have enough time. I was so scared. There was a 30-hour cutoff. So if you did not complete that 100 miles in 30 hours, then they would pull you or pull your bib, and you would did not finish a DNF, which as a runner, that's something you never want to do. And so I knew I was going to be close. And so when I finished at 28 hours, I looked back and I thought, well, I could have grabbed a 20-minute nap here or there, but I was just too nervous to.
Yeah,
so,
you wouldn't have slept. You mean you would have gone straight in? Either you wouldn't have slept and you'd have been anxious those 20 minutes, Jennifer, or you would have gone completely zonked out. And then I cannot fathom the thought of you getting that close and almost tasting it, and then feel like you had to start back over.
Yeah. So
to be able to get your belt buckle.
At mile 20, when I had 24 miles left, they let me have a safety runner. And that's because, you just get delirious. And so I had a friend run the last 24 miles with me. And so, but before that, when I ate my waffle, I sat there and I closed my eyes, and my friend was like feeding me. I had my eyes closed and she was feeding me just so I could just rest my eyes. And then another friend came alongside me and ran the last 24 miles with me. But it was a really cool experience. One that I loved.
You call it a journey, Jennifer, but I also know there's a spiritual component to your journey and running, and I'd love to get to that coming up next here on Good Things. We're finding out more about Jennifer Russell Jefcoat's adventure of going from a 10K there in Corinth, I think it was in 2013, all the way to running 100 miles. What year was your 100-miler, Jennifer?
2019.
2019, and the journey along the way. And wow, it was such a journey it was. And I read too where you had a simple mantra that sort of kept you in the zone, or at least focused during those years of you trying to find your limit, as you said, with running miles. What was your mantra?
Well, I have several of them actually, but I just run because I can, and I know that one day I won't be able to. So I don't take the fact that I can run for granted. I'm very grateful for the ability to run, and as long as I can, as long as God will allow me, I will.
I know your day job is running after little kids for the children's ministry there at First Baptist in Corinth. And so how has this sort of journey just sort of also deepened your spiritual health?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I am a children's minister, and so it's so much more than just chasing after kids. It's being a leader of a flock, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to serve as a children's minister here. I've been here since 2009, and so I've really watched a lot of kids grow up. In fact, my first boy that I was born in my ministry is in 6th grade, and so I'm like, what? Like, that's crazy. And so but I decided, like, my first year that I was here, I took the kids to camp, and I couldn't keep up after them. Like, I was huffing and puffing and trying to run after them. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, I am not in good enough shape to do this. And that's really also what kind of sparked my health journey, is that I wanted to feel young, and I wanted my kids to see that I was young enough and spunky enough to run after them and keep up with them. And so that's another component of why I wanted to get healthier and why I started running. And so, yeah, ministry is an amazing blessing. It can be tough at times, but I really feel like running gives me an outlet. It gives me a chance to get out, and I usually always run in the mornings, and so it kind of just sets the tone for the day. I get up. First of all, I thank God for the ability to run and another day of life. And then I lace up my shoes, and just the spiritual journey that running has put me on, it's just been an amazing experience. I've cried on the side of the road. I've prayed, and I've looked down at my watch, and I've already run 4 or 5 miles. I didn't even realize it because it was just a conversation of just God and I. And I've had some very worshipful experiences and on the road, and I love that. I love that about running.
You don't even have to run necessarily to experience that. There's a great nationwide organization called Girl Trek. They're really popular here in central Mississippi and beyond statewide. And they just talk about getting outside and getting that fresh air and getting in your 30 minutes walk a day and using it as an opportunity to also have prayer and fellowship. And I think so many of us take for granted just what 30 minutes fresh air of movement can do to clear our thoughts, clear our mind, and recenter us. And you may start, it's still one foot in front of the other, Jennifer. It just, not everybody wants to run the 100 miles. Right. And you don't ever want to do it again, do you?
I don't want to either anymore. and I think that is, one thing that we all have to take time for ourselves. And it may be walking, it may be yoga, and whatever it is, find your outlet, find something for self-care, but also a way to connect with God, and I know that when yoga first came out, it was like, oh, I don't know about that. But there's even, I think it all depends on your heart and your focus on your spiritual journey as well.
Well, we all are interested too. And where did you run those 100? How did you prep for it? Are there good trails around Corinth that you lace up your shoes and then get out and enjoy? I mean, those are some monotonous days and miles. Like usually the event's tough, but even for a marathon, which is only 26.2 miles, it's the training runs that sometimes you need the most, encouragement for. So where were you running in Corinth?
Well, the Coke route. I cannot tell you how many. I can literally run the Coke route with my eyes closed, and because it would be dark, early mornings. I still run, way before daylight sets in. And but what's really cool is I have friends that they have strengths in like planning routes and stuff. And so I would say, hey, like I need 12 miles today, or I need 19 miles today. And so I have a friend that she coordinates all of that, and you can upload it to your Garmin, and it's just really cool. And so I've run a lot of miles on Highway 350 headed to Pickwick. Those hills are amazing training opportunities out there. The Coke route is my favorite, I'll be honest with you. I am actually not, I do not favor trails. I have friends that love trail running, and I just don't. And this 100 miler was not on trails. It was on like a pea gravel road, like it's called Rails to Trails. And so I'm not one that likes to run in the woods, but we have amazing trails around here. I just prefer the road. And so I did most of my training on the road. And I would try to find it, like if I needed to run a marathon for my training run, I would try to find a race, close by so I could at least get a medal and a t-shirt for it. And so I did a lot of races in training for that 100 miles.
Well, it's definitely an inspirational story, and it all started with your run there for the Corinth Coke Run, which is the annual 10K. When is that? When in the year is the Coke Run there in Corinth?
Yeah, it's the first Saturday in May, so it's May 7th this year. I have to do a plug for it. So Coach Kenneth Williams is the main person that leads our running community here in Corinth. He's absolutely amazing runner. He's run over 100 marathons, run Boston. He's just amazing. And so, but he directs the Coke 10K, and it is May 7th, and you can sign up at runsignup.com. And it's only like $25.
Oh, and you get a t-shirt and a medal, and you get to be a part of something cool. The fact that it's the largest 10K in Mississippi. If someone's listening to good things today, Jennifer, and they're inspired by your story, but they hear 100 miles, that's crazy. But now 6 doesn't sound so bad, right? Like we hear you ran 100, 6 is like, oh, I might could do that. What's your encouragement to get folks trying something new out of their comfort zone like you did?
Yeah. Well, I always tell people, whatever scares you, you should try. I still have things that scare me. Like trying to qualify for Boston scares me. And that's what gets me going also, is trying to find a goal that takes you out of your comfort zone, and don't compare yourself to other people. Like it is you versus you. What you did, yesterday, or, last Saturday, or your last race. Don't compare yourself to other people, because there's always going to be somebody that's faster than you or has accomplished more. I have a friend that runs 140 miles or two. I mean, like he just runs like crazy amount of miles. And so you have to embrace your journey. And that's what I always tell people is don't compare yourself with anybody else, because as running is a big book, we're just on different chapters. And so whatever it is that intrigues you, try it. I am not good at yoga at all. Like I'm trying yoga, and that's taking me out of my comfort zone, but I know that it'll make me a better runner. So just have a goal and work toward it, and just don't compare yourself to other people.
Now, most runners also get into the hobby for the after-run snacks and food and meals and fellowships. So I need to know that you ate more than a hamburger and a waffle when you finished your 100-miler, Jennifer. Or what's your go-to after a good long training run or race?
Oh, well, first of all, that's the best thing about ultra running is that you eat all the time. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and cold Reese's Pieces cups. I love Reese's cups. And a Dr. Pepper, I will treat myself to a Dr. Pepper. And then also, depending on how many miles I ran that day, I really like a good hamburger.
I think you have earned every single one of those, Jennifer. And if we come out May 7th for the Corinth Coke Run, will you be there for
Mhm.
this one?
Absolutely.
All righty. Well, that's May 7th. If people want to put that on their calendars and get out of their comfort zone and come run with Jennifer, you can do that. I appreciate your time. Thanks, girl. Congratulations.
Thanks.
All
Thanks for
right. You guys
having
stick.
me.
Yeah, you stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.